Good. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order and stand for the singing of O Canada. Okay, record of attendance. Lindsay, you're good? No absent with regrets. Declarations of conflict of interest, anyone? You can announce that at the time if you wish. Approval of agenda, any additions or deletions. So you'll see, actually I don't know if they're on yours, but on my sheet, 13A is the skid steer tender results for additions. 13B's 2019 sewer flushing tender results. C's committee of the whole date change. D paint for the skate park, and E bicycles. Just a couple that came up at the last minute. Anything else that you wish to add? Okay, Councillor McLeod, second by Councillor Steve. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Approval of minutes. Town Council, July 11, 2019.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Water utility meeting, July 11th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. It does, actually. So you want, in the water utility meeting, you were absent? And the first meeting as well? Yeah. All right. So we're going to make those corrections. You were not at the town council meeting.
I was absent because of the town council, but not on the water.
Okay, right on. You got that, Lindsay? Okay, so we're going to make those changes. We're good with that? Okay. So water utility, all those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. Town council, July 17th.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. Town council, July 17th, in camera.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Committee of the whole, July 24th. My throat is sore.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. Sorry. Okay, there's no presentation, but I did want to make note of a special gentleman that's here down back. We have our fire chief, John Verrill, who has, for the last 5 years, I have to say, Chief, you haven't missed many, if any, meetings of both Committee of the Whole and Council, as well as every morning inside here. So I just want to make note of your service and our thanks. Many accomplishments in the 5 short years. I can't list them all, but the chief put an emphasis on increasing diversity in the Yarmouth Fire Department, which is tremendously important to all of us. So thank you for doing that. He's given his platoon chiefs professional development plans, strategic areas of responsibility, which ups the ante there. You have gracefully weathered the storm of the labor situation and the changes in services that we've recently gone through. We certainly thank you for that. And the chief brought with him a lifetime of firefighting service, both career and volunteer, to benefit the entire department. And I would suggest that it goes beyond that. I think you've been a mentor and a help to many. So thank you, Chief, for everything. You said 5 years. You gave us more than 5 years. We're very thankful for that. Wish we could keep you, but I know life goes on and you have things to do. So do you want to say anything, or you're good? Okay. So thank you from all of us. Much respect and the very best wishes going forward. Yes, you second the comments. Thank you, Chief. Okay, business arising, Police Advisory Board bylaw amendment, second reading. So really, there's no one here. I can go through that. Do you want to?
Sure, Your Worship. So just for everybody's a reminder, this amendment is simply to add another volunteer member to our Police Advisory Board. And so that is the amendment being considered. So where this is second reading, you should give the opportunity from anyone from the public who wishes to address council. And once you've heard from the public, then you can consider a motion to accept second reading.
Good. Okay, so I will ask 3 times if anybody wants to speak to this in the audience, gentlemen. Okay, would anyone like to speak to this issue? Second time, would anyone like to speak to this issue of the Police Advisory Board? And a third time, would anyone like to speak to this issue? Okay, hearing no one, I am going to entertain that motion. Okay. Okay, Councillor Hood, and second by Councillor MacLeod. Go ahead, Councillor Hood.
So I move that I am a member of the committee, and I move that we proceed as a council to approve this resolution to add an additional civilian member to the board.
Right on. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you. So,
I think I should have said this amendment to the bylaw that gives effect to that.
yeah.
The minute should say that. Thanks.
So, Councillor Hood and I are both on that Police Advisory Board, and we have a meeting next week? Yeah, next week. So really if there's anything that you're thinking needs to come to the Police Advisory Board, doesn't matter, big, little, we deal with those things there. So I would encourage you to send a note to myself or to Councillor Hood. It's just important that we get everything. We haven't had a meeting for a while. Go ahead, Councillor.
I have already sent in some suggested items for the agenda for the chair to consider, Your Worship, and the 2 that I recall is a Chief Lacroix is temporarily posted to Africa, and we have a new fill-in chief. And I think it's appropriate to take another look at the demonstration project for the ATVs at this point in time. So I've asked that that be placed on the agenda. And the other one is, I'm getting a fair number of inquiries about what appears to be, in the public's mind anyway, a lack of enforcement for some pretty obvious drug trafficking that's going on in the community. We lost another person to a drug overdose just in the last few days. And I think that we should be discussing these issues with our Police Advisory Committee and getting an update on what, if anything, the police see is being done and what they're doing. Yeah. Thank you.
So you know what, that second one, because it's often, you know, the extra session, the extra drug section, different name now. Maybe give the acting chief a heads up. We should do that, so we can bring that with him.
So I personally, so I did go out and meet with our person up there and indicate what I was going to bring up, and asked her pass it on to the chief so he'd have a heads up on what we're going to be.
Okay.
But it's up to the chair to. Oh yeah, and truck routes. That was another one I was going to put on there. And whether so, the issue with truck routes, where would the police stand in terms of any request by the town to impose a change or the enforcement of truck routes in the town? Do they have the resources? If they do, are they prepared to ticket and enforce the truck routes if we were to proceed to ask for those things to be enforced more diligently, or if we were to change them, if they would be enforced? So I did ask that that be on there as well.
Good stuff. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. New business, 10A, Yarmouth Christmas Festival. So I think you all had the letter that was attached, and the CAO and I met with Barb Firth, who has run our parades for quite some time. And she has come up with another idea that I think is brilliant, and I have in passing spoken to a couple of you, and you agreed. This is to hold a Christmas festival, so that hybrid between the switch event and a parade, where the floats would come in. We would shut down the downtown, much like we do with Switch, have the floats come in. There could be access to the floats, you know, food vendors, all those pieces. I just think it's an amazing idea. It just creates one more reason, you know, for people to gather. Councillor Cleveland?
I would just like to say, actually to agree with you. I had a discussion with Barb Firth just a few days ago, actually, about this. I think it's a great idea. And it's funny, after we had our small parade for Seafest, it was great to have a parade back. Mm-hmm. But with the tragedy that happened last year at our Christmas parade, I was wondering if everybody had kind of the wherewithal to move forward with it. This is an absolutely great idea. Mm-hmm. If we were still just dealing with a Christmas parade with no kind of a background or any kind of baggage, I still would think this was an absolutely fantastic idea. Mm-hmm. I think this is absolutely the way to go, and I'd like to move that we officially endorse the concept and kind of get everything moving forward. So I'd like to make that motion if I could.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Councillor, one of you. Okay, Deputy Mayor first.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's a great idea, and I love it that Barb says potential Candy Cane Lane Christmas Festival chair. So it's not often that somebody steps up to the plate, but Barb does it quite often and always does a fantastic job. So I had a conversation with Barb one day last week. I wonder, is she going to come up with a budget for us that we can help? Mm-hmm. Or we'll, you know, I think this is a great idea. I kind of like that idea between, they call it a hybrid between the switch and the parade. I think it's a great idea.
Let me, before you turn the light off, I'll just mention this. She did mention to me that actually our CAO advised her to go through the process of becoming an organization, and there may be a little bit of a fee to that, $35. So you know, we can find a way to find that money, so it doesn't cost her any money, and then she can come up with a budget.
And we'll go from there. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, Councillor McLeod, you're next.
Totally supportive and just concerned about the financial part of it. So I'll wait for the budget, and hopefully Barb and her group can approach the downtown merchants for support financially for this project too, and also even for other vendors who are outside of the CBD. So I'm very supportive, and so I'm going to support the motion, of course. Thank you.
And Councillor Don?
I guess my question would be related to if this would replace our Christmas parade?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're thinking about senior citizens, people that live in certain particular parts of town and can't get to the venue because they are senior citizens and usually step out to the side of the curb to see a parade in Yarmouth, are no, I'm not saying they're not going to make it, but a lot less opportunity for them. So I think I'm just worried that once you start shutting it down to a narrow focus, I think we start eliminating members of our community that have been used to at least seeing something at Christmas, will no longer see something at Christmas. So it's a great idea. I'm just worried about, we're now narrowing our focus and we're narrowing our area and we're cutting down on we're supposed to support the town of Yarmouth and all the citizens that are here. And I'm just worried about the ones that can't get to from Forest to Grand. We're shutting down those kind of people, and I'm worried about that.
Yeah.
That's all.
No, I just want to ask you a question first. So these people
Okay.
get to the hospital, they get to their appointments, they get to other places. So
Yeah,
I
with-
wonder if we ask
with-
Barb to figure out, is there a way to?
They do get to them,
Get
but
them
they
there.
also use our transport
transit,
system.
yeah.
Is that the transport system going to be able to handle the crowd that's going to be coming from those particular things? I think all those things have to be thought through really quickly before I decide that I'm going to vote against or for something that doesn't support my whole town.
Yeah.
I'm just truly,
Yeah.
that's the way I feel.
Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Cleveland.
Oh, okay, sorry. First off, yeah, maybe we could initiate some transit during that time. That wouldn't be a bad thing. But the other thing I was going to mention, if you recall last year, on the same night where we actually lit the Christmas tree, the downtown merchants had like kind of a shopping
Merry
experience.
Madness?
Yes, and it was very successful.
Was.
And it would be really nice for perhaps the organizers of Merry Madness to get together with Barb, and you could turn it into an entire weekend worth of fun, so to speak. So I think maybe I could just pass that along to her and put the two together, but I think the two of them could interconnect quite nicely.
Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead, CAO.
So a couple things. A couple councillors mentioned the financial side of it, and the town has had a small budget that we've held for the Christmas parade for a number of years now, and Barb has used that very sparingly. It is less than $1,000 that we have put in. So what we've advised her this year is if she gets the endorsement and goes ahead with this, is to form a not-for-profit association, and then to come and look for a grant, so we could provide a grant to her. But I know she also goes to the private sector as well, so we are prepared to the degree that we've been prepared in the past to support an event like this. On the transportation question, I think that's a good point, and we can work with our transportation people and see if we can do some work with Barb and work with maybe the seniors' homes to see if we can do some extra transportation, special kind of situation for that kind of event.
I'm gonna chime in here too and think, I can't speak for them, but the Hope vans are there as well. And maybe that's an extra, way to get folks out and around. Because they have to get down to the parade no matter where the parade is. They have to come to the parade. So for me, I'm more concerned with walking, you know what I mean? Walking to see everything. You know what I mean? Because it's static. Who's next? Cliff.
Yeah, Your Worship, I hear Councillor Don Barry's comments, and I'm mindful of them, but I think what we're dealing with here, Barb has come up with a very unique way to mitigate the risks that led to the incident last year. And I think when we balance that issue against the transportation issue, most people would be willing to understand that walking to this facility, which will not have floats and things moving around, is an acceptable compromise to ensure we have a safe event for the kids and the people in the community. So I think that's how I'm looking at it. I think she's come up with a very unique idea here, and one which we should support fully. I do.
I don't know that we'd have a parade. I don't know that we would have a parade if this isn't how it happens, because it's just too raw. Go ahead.
And it's soon, and I think the person that led the parade over the last several years almost single-handedly has been Barb. So if Barb didn't step forward and do the parade, I don't know who would. So that's another aspect. And like I think we had the conversation this week, Your Worship, about that same situation. If somebody wanted to step forward to do a parade outside of this event here, that wouldn't preclude us from not only doing this event, but doing a parade too. But I don't see a lot of people jumping forward. Steve, you know how the situation would happen with the parade lights and some of the other things, right? They're not jumping to the forefront. That's a big investment of time and energy, right? And there's really, you'll see the joy of the people. There's really something happens. There's no really upside for the person that's doing the organization of it. And if everything goes good, it's good. If something bad happens, it lands on that person's lap. But I think this is a great idea, and I hear what Councillor Berry said about the transportation issues. I think if we can get that done with the Hope Centre people involved, it'll be a great event.
Yeah. Councillor Berry?
I think from what I heard from my friends that were out west that heard about the tragedy and all that particular stuff, a lot of them said that we're one step behind, and their concern was that even any parade that you have in the town of Yarmouth should not be one vehicle on that street. Not one. Side streets, yeah. Every side street you could live with, there shouldn't be one there. Therefore, the public can stand on the side without looking over top of a car, people sitting in cars, hollering out of cars and all that stuff. I think we need to move one step further and say, absolutely, if there's going to be a parade on the downtown of Yarmouth, and I know there was a tragedy of the vehicle in, but it could have been a vehicle that's right there. It could have been somebody opened up the door and whacked a senior citizen or any kind of public person. So I think we need, as a council, we need to take one step further when we're talking about parades on the main street of Yarmouth.
That's what the switch part of this concept does.
You gotta, yeah, it does. I agree with that. There shouldn't be vehicles on Main Street, and then you get, well, I can't get my family member down to Main Street. Well, it's hard. It's hard to balance everything. So, do I have a motion on the floor for this one?
Motion seconded, Your Worship.
Okay, any more discussion on this? Question's been called. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. So we made note of some of those concerns, and we'll, when we speak with Barb, we'll address those. Good stuff, okay? Appointment of Traffic Authority. CAO?
Your Worship, I would ask that council consider appointment of Chad LeBlanc as our traffic authority, and this is considered an interim appointment, and you know, he's agreed on top of everything else he does.
Yes.
He's been with us for 20 years in public works and in transportation services, and I think he's more than up to the task, but he does have a full plate. He has agreed to take this on for a few months as an interim appointment. So, Your Worship, I would ask that council consider that this evening.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Council Advisory Committee, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll make a motion that council direct staff to develop a concept for the redevelopment of the Collins Street parking lot.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
Your Worship, I make a motion that council support the Yarmouth Links in developing cart pass and contribute $20,000 over a 2-year period.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
Your Worship, I recommend that council grant permission to Mayor Mood to apply for membership to the FCM committees. And Your Worship, once we get a seconder, I think you've already been appointed to.
I don't know what I've been appointed to.
But you have
They
been
was-
appointed to a
Yes.
committee. Okay.
Yes, they moved and seconded.
What we just say
If you said nay. But they haven't. Thanks, Councillor Cleveland.
Yeah. We did the hard part first. We got you
did the
there.
hard part first. It was a timing issue, so I asked for infrastructure, you know, because of the roads, those types of things. I can't recall the other ones, but they needed 4 or 5. And then they just said last week that they will send the list in.
You get a choice, or a
I
preference?
think they're going to.
They give a
appoint-
preference?
They're going to appoint me. I had a preference of a top 5.
Okay,
So
good.
they'll appoint me. So that's done. Thank you, folks. Or did we already vote?
We haven't voted yet.
All those in favor of saving the mayor?
Maybe? Is there a maybe there?
Any nays?
Aye.
Oh, phew, that was passed. Thanks, Counselor.
Your worship, I make a motion that council authorize an appreciation reception during Fire Prevention Week at Town Hall for whose employees are members of the Yarmouth Volunteer Fire Department, to thank them for their support of this essential service.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I gotta say this. When we had the garden party yesterday, there were, no, it wasn't firefighters. It was a young cadet. And I asked the youngsters, I said, did you have to leave a job to get here? And they all, probably half of them said no, and the other half said yes. And they were glad to let me come to this. So
Yeah,
I love to
very
hear
good.
that. Really love to hear it. It was exciting to have them here. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
Your worship, I move that council support YASTA in their bid to host either a pre-game or pre-camp for the International Women's World Championship in March 2020.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Maybe, I got a question, your worship, maybe to Councillor Cleveland, if it's been brought up there, to host either a pre-game or pre-camp. Would a pre-camp be better than a pre-game? Would they be here for a little longer, or that wasn't discussed?
I think we're going for both.
Are we going for both?
They were going for both, but
Okay,
I think the camp probably would be better. It'd be better if it had a game at the end of it, though,
yeah,
is the thing.
Yeah.
okay. So we're doing for both, okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so all those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried.
Your worship, I make a motion that council reestablish the Transit Advisory Committee.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I was here the other day on July the 24th. I was kind of in a daze because of my 60th birthday, but did we appoint members that day, or is it everybody sitting at the table?
It wasn't
Or how are we
everybody
gonna
at the
do that?
table
See-
before. Yeah, 3.
Do we have maybe, I know Councillor Berry over here, the other Councillor Berry. Do we appoint maybe a citizen to that? Do you think that would be an opportunity for somebody?
Yeah,
Okay, so we'll do the committee first and then do the terms of reference? Okay,
okay,
I'm good with that.
good. Any more discussion, anyone? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
Your worship, I make a motion that council extend the facade program on Pleasant Street from Stars to 4th Street, Stars Road to 4th Street, and on Water Street from Vancouver Street to Houston Street.
Moved and... Oh, okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I was going to, I couldn't get the, yeah, I just wasn't here. Against? Okay. Do you want to put your light on?
I think we're going too far. The next thing you know, we'll be out doing facades in the county if we keep this up.
Jim has his way, we will. We call it amalgamation facade.
No, I drove up and down Pleasant Street. I see no reason why we would be putting public money into fixing up 70-year-old warehouses. Wooden warehouses.
Yeah. Okay, you good?
I'd rather fix the street on
I
Pleasant
would
Street.
too. You could
Thank you.
probably pave about 6 feet
Or less.
or
But,
less. Yeah. Okay, so wait a minute, we gotta vote.
Yep.
We already voted. Okay. All right, go ahead, Deputy.
Your worship, I move that council purchase a half-page ad in the Nova Scotia Sports Hall of Fame annual program. And that's with the Jody Shelley's being inducted this year, your worship.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Question. All those in favor?
Aye. And your worship,
Contrary?
I'd like to bring up, over the last couple of days, your worship,
I always ask that, but he started talking.
yeah,
Well, I was just wondering if Dave Tiger Williams ever got put into the Hall of Fame in his province.
I don't know.
probably.
Probably.
The other thing, your worship, I was going to bring up, a good friend of ours, and probably one of the biggest promoters in the town of Yarmouth, the Yarmouth Town and County Sports Hall of Fame, Vic Mcguire, passed away.
Oh, yes.
So maybe I'd like to make a motion, your worship, that council send a letter of condolence to the Mcguire family on the passing of Vic.
Yes.
Vic almost single-handedly put together that program every year. Sold the ads, beat the streets, pestered people to get, not Jim will say it, pestered people, talked to people, cajoled people, twisted their arms to put in people to get in the Hall of Fame, some inductees. So Vic will be greatly missed, to be greatly missed at the Sports Hall of Fame. The Scotia Sportsman Gun Club, he was a great community member and a really good friend of mine. So I think it'd be a tremendous honor for the town of Yarmouth to send a letter of condolence to the Mcguire family.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Did you want to speak?
I do, actually. Knowing Vic for many years, and especially in the activity associated with the Sports Heritage Hall of Fame, I think the Sports Heritage Hall of Fame group should consider making him a builder in that group.
I think Vic is in the Hall of Fame, Jim, I'm pretty sure.
I've been on the committee for 22 years, so I can't remember all of the people that were there, but I'm not positive. So we can check that out, but if he isn't, I'll see Bruce at the store and ask if he would consider doing that.
Good stuff.
Yeah. We also delivered Rotary Meals on Wheels to him, and he was fun. He was easy. He was good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so it's moved and seconded.
Question, your worship.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. One more.
Your worship, I make a motion that council support African Nova Scotia youth in their application to the Youth Employment and Skills Strategy Program, the YESS.
Moved and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you, your worship.
Citizen Advisory Committees, Planning Advisory. Go ahead, Councillor Jim.
This past Tuesday, not only was I the chairperson, but I was also the secretary. So Judy's on vacation. So we had 3 items on the agenda. So the first one is Morris, our planner, presented an application to amend the land use bylaw to rezone the town-owned property on Jarvis Road from open space to CD, which is comprehensive development. And the outcome of that discussion was that there was a motion. I'm going to make a motion to our council to proceed to a public hearing.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Go ahead, Councillor.
Councillor, did you say comprehensive development zone?
Yes.
What's that?
That's a zone.
Sorry to ask, but I hadn't heard of it.
No, that's okay. That's a zone that contains more than one type of housing. It can be single, residential, duplex, fourplex.
Beyond fourplex? Like, is it everything?
There's fourplex across the street, so it's not likely going to be fourplex. It would certainly be single and.
But would it go beyond a fourplex is what he's,
I don't think the proposed development is.
So how big a lot is this? How big an area does this encompass?
It's the planned area was the original dog park, Cliff.
Yeah, okay.
And
up at the top of.
Yeah, no, I got the picture. So this isn't a great big, it's site specific, I take it?
yes,
All right.
28 Jarvis Road. Yeah.
Okay, were you gonna, okay, the answer, you got the answer. Okay.
Did we pass that?
No, moved and seconded. Questions called. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried.
The second item is an application to amend our strategy and our land use bylaw to protect and enhance our working waterfront. And so the follow-up action is a recommendation to our council to proceed to a public participation meeting. I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Say it again. The first part of it? I don't have anything in front of me, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, there was respectfully, and the reason for that is that Judy wasn't here to send you,
I understand
the
why, I just didn't
information.
hear the,
Do we have anything?
I read the back end.
So my question on that is, where it's public participation, that's normally at the committee level?
Yes. Do we need to approve that here?
No, no.
All right.
The committee decided to do that, so at your next meeting, you'll
Yeah.
have a public participation
And
meeting, and then the item, if
Yeah,
it's approved, will
don't-
come
you don't-
forward.
I only make the motion when we come to make a public hearing motion, not a public participation.
Right.
Yeah. Thank
So we're
you.
good then?
Yeah, I'm good. We don't, so
Okay.
forget that.
Next one?
The third item is an application to amend our strategy and land use bylaw to permit the ownership of and I'm just going to have fun with this, with a pot-bellied pig on a property as a pet. So we had a good hour of interesting discussion. You missed a fun meeting. And it included the family of the people who were with their 10-year-old daughter wanting to have a pot-bellied pig as a pet on her property, on their parents' property. So Phil was involved in the discussion, and there's no motion to be made. We had a good discussion. Am I allowed to say something, Jeff, that you mentioned? No. No, okay. Anyway, so in the end, we referred the activity to try to make it work for this family back to our planning department for more study. And I just wanted to bring that up as a fun thing, because
Yeah,
we had the mother and the parents and the 10-year-old girl sitting there, and it was, I thought, a really good conversation, Jeff and Phil, and so it was, I enjoyed that. It only took an hour and a half of that part of the meeting, Your Worship. No, 45 minutes. So just for it's only for your information and a smile.
No, but it'll come back to us sooner or later, so
Yeah.
we'll wait till it comes back to us.
Yeah.
We'll wait till it comes back to us. Thank you.
Thank you, fellow council.
That's
Thank
that
you.
one too. So you're finished? Okay, good. It's a thing, but yeah. So are chickens. It's not, it's about your neighbors. No, really, it's about your neighbors.
We have,
Let it go. Okay? What's a pet? Okay? Any questions for committee chairs? I'll start. We're good for Communities in Bloom?
So far, so good.
Okay.
Everything is
Mike,
on schedule.
can you put your light on?
Registrations have been, I'm sorry.
It's all right. Go ahead.
Okay, so everything's on schedule. We're beginning, we'll have a meeting next week and then meet every 2 weeks up until the time that everything happens, but everything seems to be well in hand. Registrations have begun to come in. The most difficult part of the whole discussion has to do with transportation and making sure that everybody who comes into Halifax has got a ride, or whether they choose. At this point, we weren't sure what we were expecting, whether people would come into Halifax Airport and expect a bus to take them here, or if they wanted to rent a car and do some exploring. And for the large amount, it looks like the majority of people are just taking a car from Halifax and doing some exploring, which is better for us anyway, because it means they're going to be, exploring up and down either shore before they hit the area. There will be a few that will require busing, but I think we've got that well in hand. Everything else seems to be right on schedule and
They
going
don't all
well.
come from countries that they drive on the right side of the road.
Very true.
I think that's the coolest thing. Like,
Yeah, there are
all
a
over
lot
the
of
world.
people from away who are coming, Croatia and the UK and
Hungary.
yeah, it's amazing, and they're very excited to come. Italy, so we really have to put our best foot forward, and I know we can. But there'll be an awful lot of cleaning happening in September. We're kind of trying to round up as many volunteers as possible for that part of it, because we really want to look our very best. But Yarmouth has an amazing ability to be hospitable. We have a gift for it. I really believe that. And so I'm equal amounts terrified just at the thought of having something so big as this, but very confident that everything will go smoothly.
Great, thank you. Any more questions for committee chairs?
To yourself, Your Worship, we had a little get-together yesterday in Frost Park, and give us a little overview. And I know you spent some time with His Excellency, the Lieutenant Governor. Maybe just any things that he asked, anything about the tourism season, anything specific he asked about in the town of Yarmouth, what was going on, and how was the conversation? I heard I had an appointment that was booked 7 months ago for the hospital, so I couldn't make it, but all the reports I've heard, it was a great time and a first-class event, so maybe just a little overview.
Certainly. So we had the Lieutenant Governor and his wife, their honors, visited us here in town. They mentioned to someone that they would like to visit Yarmouth, and of course when I got wind of that, we used to, I can say this because, and you, I'm sure, Deputy Mayor, you've been to those as well when you were little, but I always used to go with my grandpa to the garden parties when the Lieutenant Governor, the Governor General, and dignitaries would show up.
Not when I was little, when I was young.
When you were young.
Yeah, little never came into it.
When you were young. And I think they used to be hosted behind the library in different places. So I just asked if they would consider coming to a garden party if we put that on. And it came together. We had Richard LeBlanc play with his two accompanying him. They played, the music was great. We had someone do refreshments for us. We had actually Joe Bashara piped us in, so there's nothing like that Nova Scotia bagpipe. And we had, I'm going to miss someone, but we had probably 125 people that showed up, and we had, I think I was most excited about the cadets. Our past Mayor Crosby was there in uniform, and he brought a group with him, so I was thankful for that. Don McCumber, lots of folks in their uniforms. We had the Red Hat ladies. It was just a really, really easygoing event, and it went off without a hitch. And I'm just pretty thankful for that. So he did mention the ferry and ask the questions around that. So we had a little bit of discussion. Didn't get too deep because there's different positions for different things. I understand that Councillor Hood was in law school with him, so it was really good that you could come by the park and say hello. So yeah, and council, actually everybody at council except you had that appointment that was booked months ago, so we got a nice photo, and it was just a really, really nice event.
Was it for you the same year, or was it different, or the same period?
No, he was in third year when I was in first, but he's 76 and I'm 78, so I had 4 misspent years getting through law school.
Oh, but I think they were learning years.
Yeah. Anyway, so law school, when you're in law school, it's a 3-year thing, and frankly, everybody knows everybody first, second, third year, because in those days we didn't have 150 per year in law school.
Whoops.
And he was, Arthur LeBlanc was from Isle Madame, Richmond County, and was a small town lawyer like I am in Port Hawkesbury, and had a very successful private law career, and then eventually was appointed to the Supreme Court, where he served with distinction for many years. And we've known each other for all of those years. He a good liberal and me a bad Tory.
You ever have to do a case before?
I've had chambers motions before him. I haven't had a full-fledged trial before him, but he was always very courteous, very You know, the fellows from the towns and municipalities from outside the city tend to be a good deal less full of themselves, if I may say that.
Well, you did.
Well, I said if I may say that.
Your worship, we vote aye or nay on that one?
No,
You want me to repeat it? Because I will.
gotta love him.
It bothered me a bit. So it really was a pleasure to be able to see him again and exchange some more. I think we both liked the fact that we were meeting in the capacities we were in. He knew I'd been at this council racket for business for a long time, and he'd been through all those kinds of things. I think he was a municipal solicitor down there as well. So just a good thing.
Yeah. They are among the nicest people I've ever met, I have to say. They are just genuine, good people. So it was great.
Good.
Go ahead there, Councillor Barry.
My comment is to follow up to Councillor Cleveland's about the Committee in Bloom. The same weekend that'll be going on, the J Strong Cup will be going on Main Street. So I think it's great that we're going to have a few events going on that weekend. So I guess if you turn right off of Pleasant, you can go to one. You turn left off to the other, you can enjoy the other. And we're just hoping to put on a great event so everybody here can enjoy it. So just wanted to make that 2 cents in there.
Yeah, don't turn that off yet, because we had a meeting today, Councillor Barry and Councillor Cleveland, you were working, but the CAO was there with regards to events and how with the communities in bloom is exactly what he's saying, with the communities in bloom, that they're going to see the pristine town and then they're going to see us in top action. Like I don't think it gets better than that. See it both ways. But did you want to give us a little update where we are with the events piece?
So basically, we met with Yasta today. We just had a great conversation about how we can kind of work together and be on the same page for what we want to do. I guess our main vision is when people come to Yarmouth, if there could be some place where they could go on a computer or wherever and just find what's going on here, whether it be yard sales or continuing weekly events that go on at Heritage, or whether it be marquee events that we put on. But we don't want people spending a whole lot of time to look what to do in our town and maybe just say, well, it's too much, it's confusing. This way they can go to kind of one place, they can see everything. So I think it was a great discussion today, and Neil seemed really on board to what we were doing, and I look forward to moving forward with that. And I believe we have a follow-up meeting in October where we'll sit down with stakeholders who want to be involved, and just hope to get as many hands on deck as we can to support what goes on in our town and around. So I think it was a good meeting today for sure.
Good, thank you.
I should have turned off. I was going to ask Councillor Barry. Steve had a very successful weekend for the ball tournament. I think he raised over in excess of $17,000. Maybe you can put a plug in for the J Strong golf tournament. I don't think you have to be a golfer, because there's going to be plenty of opportunities to buy tickets, raffle items at the Yarmouth Links on that Thursday. Is it the 15th of August? So maybe give us a little overview. Lots of opportunities to support the organization without having to swing a golf club.
So, well, perfect. So last weekend we had, or 2 weekends ago, we had 27 teams participate in a softball tournament fundraiser for the J Strong Fund. I'm happy to say we raised $17,500 during the weekend. We had teams from Weymouth, Shelburne, Barrington, Digby, supported through the roof from local community businesses, as we always are, and as well as the community. We had games held at 4th Street under the lights on Friday night, as well as Saturday, and we ended things off in Hebron. But a big thank you to everyone who kind of chipped in on that. And then it's our big event that we had that's coming up on next Thursday, August 15th. We had to cancel that in June because of the rain and the course conditions, but we're looking forward to once again doing another big fundraiser. As Councillor, excuse me, as Councillor Mooney just mentioned, you don't have to play golf to come out and enjoy. There's a barbecue there, there'll be Chinese auction, there's J Strong clothes on sale, so anyone from the community that just wants to come out and support and have a good time, please come down to the Yarmouth Links on August 15th and take part and help us support our cause.
Good stuff, thank you. Councillor Cleveland?
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're kind of bouncing all over the place
That's
here.
all right.
But
Bounce.
I want to go back to one thing that Councillor Barry said. Just as a caveat, he was talking about, you know, the idea of putting events together in one spot. It's more than just for the regular guy to look and see what's going on, but really, ultimately, I'd also love to see an opportunity for people who are actually organizing stuff to look and say, well, that weekend's bad because something's happening, or, you know, we need that. And I know it's kind of like herding squirrels sometimes.
No, but you know what? Jeff can probably help me with this, but he had 3, I want to call them bar graphs, but he had 3 graphs, and it showed when every event was happening, so that if Councillor Steve is saying, I need to do another tournament, then he would look and say, you know what, nothing's going on in May. I'm going to do it then, as opposed to April or June when there's half a dozen events, so that you're drawing through the entire year, so you're bang on. I'll say Neil's got that one under control.
And as another part of that,
Yeah.
it's one of the goals of YASTA, of course. I mean, we're trying to develop an industry here, a tourism industry. And the way to make that successful is to create shoulder seasons. In other words, expand it. You know, right now it's, you know, end of June through mid-September, and then you're kind of done. So it gives that opportunity for growth too, where you can put stuff on those shoulders and kind of grow those too. So ultimately, it becomes a, you know,
Year round.
yeah, 365 days may be an exaggeration, but if we could get 10 months out of it as opposed to 3, it would be a huge difference.
Maybe a question to Wade too. When do we hear about Nova Scotia Music Week? When's that?
Oh, you know what? The application has been put in, but I do not know when the decision is, not off the top of my head.
Because is that a 3-year? Is
It
that a
would be-
3-year commitment, right?
If
If
we
it
get
works out.
accepted, it would be a 3-year commitment,
Okay,
yes.
good.
And that's, you know what? We were so successful, and again, I'm sorry, you're gonna get me on my soapbox here, not your fault. But we were so successful the last time we did Nova Scotia Music Week, and you have to think, in the time that's passed, this is a different town from what we were then. We have so many more venues with places like Heritage, places like the one in Tuscan Breweries, and things, SIP, you know, everything's...
Perky Owl?
The Perky Owl. We have so many small venues now for music. That's one of those really big deals that, you know, once we're there, man, we're getting there, and it's exciting to see. It really is.
Hank did fix some stuff. That's right.
Lipstick on a potbelly tape.
That's right. Oh my gosh, you guys are funny. Any more questions for committee chairs? We're good? Okay. So the additions, so 13A, skid steer tender results, CAO.
Your worship, invited tenders were sought for the lease of 2 skid steer loaders for the compost facility, with the closing date August 6th. The term of the lease is 2 years, with the option to extend for an additional 12 months. 3 responses were received, and the results are summarized in a memo from the Manager of Public Works. It says, although the bid prices were extremely close, after reviewing all of the specifications and compliance items, it is recommended the tender be awarded to Battlefield Equipment Rentals. That is for your consideration.
Okay. It's not the lowest, but it's close.
No, your worship, you picked up on a point that deserves some explanation. The bids are all very close. The manager did not recommend the lowest bid. You may notice in the year, make, model that is being offered by Brandt Equipment, the low bidder, was a 2018 machine, and what was specified was a 2019.
Oh, I gotcha.
In addition, your worship, there was a requirement or specification that the controls be seat mounted for ergonomic reasons, and the machine spec'd by Brandt Equipment, they were cab mounted, and so they weren't as ergonomically friendly as was specified. So for those 2 reasons, the manager felt that for the small amount extra, It was certainly worth it, and the machine offered by Battlefield Equipments was fully compliant with the specifications.
Make a motion that we approve the recommendation is circulated.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. 2019 sewer flushing tender results. Go ahead, CAO.
Your worship, invited tenders were requested from 3 firms for sewer flushing, vacuum cleaning, and video inspection for the 2019 season. Responses were received from 3 firms with the results summarized in the memo from the Manager of Public Works. After reviewing the tenders, it is recommended that the contract be awarded to the lowest overall tenderer, Loomer's Pumping Service, and that is for your consideration.
Okay. Moved. Can I have a seconder? Please for discussion. Second. Okay. Discussion.
Question?
Questions called. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you, folks. Committee of the Whole date change. So I sent out an email. Got one reply. Thanks, Wade.
I called Lindsay.
Oh, okay, all right. I just can't keep track if I don't get replies. So we wanted to move it because the CAO and I are not here to the following week, which would be the 4th of September. What does that look like for people? My thought was about when does, I was thinking when does school start, yeah.
School's around that time, it's pretty up for school.
Can you look?
Who's that?
Wednesday, 4th might be. Labor Day is the...
What day of the
Someone
week?
find that, Lindsay, you can find that.
Wednesday.
Can we do it at the night? Like, I think Jim made a suggestion, can we do it at nighttime? Later?
No, because we have all our staff here. Lindsay's gonna look. Were you gonna look? To see what the first day of school is? Okay. All right. Yeah, I think I am too. I know I am. Because it was such a late date, it seemed to me, but it's not. It's the 28th, yeah. Oh, what do we do?
I'm on vacation that week, but I could make an exception to come.
What, for that September week?
Yeah, but, you know, it's not that big a deal. It's just Kathy will kill me. It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
It doesn't have to be a Wednesday, but we're not gonna do it on his vacation week in the week that these guys start school.
Can't be the same week, though.
Can't we do it all at once?
Just not have committee of the whole of those. And anything that we bring forward, we'll try to do so. Your worship, if it's difficult to get a date when we can be together, late August, early September, we could always go without a committee of the whole meeting in August and put the onus on staff that if we have items coming forward to the council meeting on the 12th, that we ensure that we have the attachments in the package that goes out the Friday before, so that you have plenty of time to read, and you always have the opportunity to defer making a decision if you're not comfortable with it.
You could actually convene as committee of the whole, deal with your work, and then just proceed into council and ratify it all, unless there was some issue raised
Yeah.
that needed
Yeah.
to be deferred.
And the reason we have the committee of the whole is that second sober thought.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there's anything, I mean, I trust this council to say, I'm not comfortable, I need more information.
Set it over.
Yeah, exactly. So, are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes. No committee of the whole meeting in August, but September, we will get the documents, all of them, before the committee of the whole and council.
And we'll have committee of the whole, and then we'll immediately following that have a meeting of council to ratify.
Can't do that.
I don't know if it makes it kind of defeats the purpose to do it right back to back, once it's two council.
Okay, whatever. Let's just,
All right. So are we okay? Is everyone okay with that?
yes?
All right. Do I need a motion?
Yeah, just a motion on that.
Okay. Motion for no committee of the whole in August.
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved and seconded.
Question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. Thanks, folks. Paint the skate park. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this out there, and we're probably gonna defer it to committee of the whole. Jeff's laughing. No, I'll tell you, I posted something, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, a young man went in and he cleaned the entire skate park. Because some people don't understand, you can't just throw your trash on public property. That's all I'm gonna say about that, because there's a whole lot more I could say. Anyway, he cleaned up the whole thing, 410 likes, 75 amazing comments from people. And I spoke also to a young man, he's older, actually he's in his early 20s, I believe, who, they were down there with chalk, and they were doing the painting with the chalk in the skate park. And they contacted me and said, basically, you know, if we could, what they're trying to do, I believe, and Councillor Steve, you're looking at, because I think you get where I'm coming from, you know who these folks are, and I'll say it like this, they're not kids, but they're good people who really want everybody to use that skate park, but there's been stuff going on in that skate park. You know, some of the youth are afraid to go in and use it. They're getting bullied. There's, you know, the language, all those pieces are coming together. So there's a group of older, younger men that are in there, and they're trying to turn that thing around and be a positive example for the kids. And they said, you know, one thing is if we could paint it, we believe that there would be, if it were painted, you know, cool graffiti, there may be less vulgar graffiti, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, I said I'll bring it to council. I love it. I love the idea. I just think you need to know what's going up, but to give our youth the freedom to do something like that, it's an easy decision for me, but it's a council decision. Go ahead, Councillor Steve.
So I know the young man that you're talking about, and he also contacted me,
Yeah.
one of a former student that I worked with, and it's nice to see that the pride that some people take in the place that they're from, and I think a lot of us at this table have the same from, you know, whether it be from South End or from whatever area you are, but to make a long story short, he also said about if they could be involved is somehow in, you know, putting their own art on there, and I think that is something that we should consider. There were some words, I had a mother contact me, and there were some not so nice words that were spray painted on down there, and actually that's how the chalk began. They started drawing over what was there to kind of cover it up. Unfortunately, although we don't get a lot of rain, when we do it kind of takes it away. And I had a great discussion with Todd at the garden party yesterday about what we could do, and I believe he has some sandblasting and something that he kind of wants to clean it up. But if they could be involved somehow in, you know, in some way with kind of putting their mark on there, and once again the pride that comes, and then it's my park. And then when they see other people doing things, it becomes, don't do that because this is ours, and if you want things, right? So the ownership piece and the pride that comes from that. So I do think that's something we should consider in some way. I don't think it should be a free-for-all with, you know, paint cans and whatnot, but
No, it has to be.
some type of structure. But if they could have their name on it, I think it's important, and once again, creates a sense of pride of where you're from, and that's a good thing in my opinion, so.
Yeah, thank you. So where would we go from here? Because I didn't know you had spoken with Todd, because he would have an insight into that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, you know, I've seen some examples in different cities. I'm thinking about Toronto and some of the things I had the privilege of seeing in that city that they've done with young people around what we'll call urban art.
Yeah.
And they really, some of the works of art actually become tourist attractions. People seek them out when they've seen pictures online. I think I'd be really interested in a conversation with the youth that are interested in taking leadership maybe Councillor Barry and Todd, and figure out a way to do it in a way that meets their needs and objectives. And if there's a role that we can play in helping to organize and, let's say, license certain areas of the premises to different artists, I think that would be, I don't know if that's a kind of a concept that would work, but you'd want to make the opportunity available to anyone, I would think, that has artistic ability and the interest to be a part of that. So I'm very interested in the conversation, and I think if we do that, then we could always bring back a recommendation to council.
Yeah. It's sort of like that one just around the Commons in Halifax.
Yeah.
Right, there's a skate park there, and there's this, I mean, I don't think it's completely covered, but what is covered is tasteful and it's fun and it's, it's all those things, so. Okay, so what's the motion you need there, CAO? Go ahead.
Maybe direct the CAO to work with staff, Councillor Barry, and members of the community to develop a concept for how we could move forward with let's call it a painting project at the skateboard park.
Good stuff, okay? Moved. Second? Okay. Any discussion, further discussion? Oh, it's always on. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Did you want to say something, Councillor Hood?
You want to say something?
Your light was on, but it's been on for a while. Yep. Did you want to say something? I can get you started again.
I want to say something, but I'm not going to.
Okay. All right, did we vote on that? Yes, we did. Okay. And the last one I had on my list here is bicycles. So this just happened late this afternoon. Someone popped over to my home, and in one of the other towns in Nova Scotia, they have bicycles painted, and they have the baskets on the front with the flowers and all those pieces, and they're actually painted pink for cancer. And she had some photographs of them. I didn't have time to get them, but no, actually, you know what?
We did see something like this.
Yes.
Last year, a lady came.
Yeah, Amber D'Entremont came in, and it was about putting the bikes up on the poles and stuff like this. So this is another lady and another idea. We didn't see the other one happen, but this lady said she would take full reins of this if she had council's permission, and what would be the next step? Would she need permits and all those pieces? And I suggested one of the things would be to speak with Todd, because of we did, yeah.
So,
No.
so is the is the concept to put these bikes on private property or on public property? Because if it's public property, then we need
It's
to be
public property.
then we need to be involved.
Yep.
So you need to provide some parameters to the person and to staff in terms of where it's acceptable to place these bikes.
Okay, okay. So they would have to, like, much like the last lady that came in, they would probably be chained to poles or, some of the infrastructure that we have up. And we had already sorted it out, but I don't recall what the answer was.
Yeah, so we had entered an agreement with Amber around how and where these would be placed and how they would be maintained or removed if they weren't maintained. So if council is interested in a similar arrangement with this person, then we have a template.
Okay. So, all right. So I'm just looking for a motion to get us started, if council's in agreement. I know this lady will take it on. It's Sandra Ryan. I know she'll take it on and do it.
I'd just like to see what it's
Yeah.
entails, that's all.
Yep, okay. So how about, want me to invite her to the council meeting or committee of the whole? Or just, sorry,
Not the one
got
in
an awful
August.
cold.
Not the one in August.
Not the one in August. How about I get more information and send it out to council?
It's not gonna be something that she's gonna do this year.
I think she would get started this year, but, Go ahead, Councillor Don.
I guess my question would be, has it been done before somewhere? Can we see some kind of other suggestions of where, maybe take a peek, maybe take a drive to? You know, is it something that's brand spanking new off the market, that's, they're coming out with a new idea? Or is it something that the person's got the idea from somewhere else and we can easily see it online or somewhere, which would really help in supporting the idea? I like the idea, it's just we're lost in the dark of all the ins and outs.
Yep, so I will do that. I'll send you more. I'll just send you a little package of photos and websites, maybe, that type of thing. Yeah, and then we can have that discussion at the next council meeting. But in general, are we okay? Without a motion? Yeah, good, okay. All right, that's all I had. Approval of invoices.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Date of next meeting is September the 12th, where the deputy mayor will be the mayor.
Right on.
And I'm looking, we don't have anything in camera, a motion to adjourn, and then don't go because we have water utility. Okay?
To adjourn, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you.
And my name's not there, so I was just wondering. That'd be one question.
That was in the file. I think that was in there.
That was in the yeah, it's in right under that. Yeah, is that quick meeting was called? Okay, I was just curious. I mean, I usually don't miss meetings.
No, but we knew you weren't.
Okay.
Yeah. You were excused, yeah. Okay, good. So Councillor Hood, do you want to take over here?
So you got two things, and the one thing I got is this, but the other one is, yeah, okay, there's something right. Oh, I gotta go like this. Where do we hit? Okay, now just give me a minute, council, and, okay, good, we're good. So this is a meeting of the Town of Yarmouth Water Utility, and the meeting will come to order. Record of attendance, all councillors and the mayor are in attendance, and myself as chair. We have a tender to deal with, and we move beyond declarations of conflict of interest. So I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved.
Councillor Berry, second, Your Worship.
Good. Question? Call? All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion's carried. So we'll proceed with it. We have a water service truck tender results, and there is a recommendation from staff to proceed to award a tender to the sole offerer, tenderer, Tuscan Ford for a 2019 Ford F-350 reading Class 2 aluminum service body. There were other dealers that were contacted to tender on this, and this is the only tender we received. So I'll invite any discussion that may be. But why don't we get a motion on this, and then we'll see if there's some discussion. Motion by, moved by McLeod, seconded by Don Berry. Question? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried. So we're proceeding to award the tender to Tuscan Ford. That's that. And the only other item I have, on June 12th, the utility received a letter from the Department of Environment. You are receiving this letter as the owner of a municipal drinking water supply in the province of Nova Scotia to notify you of Health Canada's recent changes to the drinking water guidelines. Now, these things do get into the media and have been into the media, and you may receive questions about this, so I want to update you on that. Health Canada has established a maximum acceptable concentration for manganese drinking water. As a public drinking water supply owner, your public supply must comply with this new health-based guideline. Basically, they've cut it in half from where it was. I can tell you there's 0.20 milligrams per liter, which means not a whole lot to anybody. Just know that they're cutting it by half from where it was, a significant cut. And Health Canada has established a maximum acceptable concentration of 2 milligrams per liter for total copper in drinking water. And as a public drinking water supply owner, you must ensure that your water supply complies with this new health-based guideline. We've checked with staff. We are currently well within that limit. Our testing is done on a frequent basis, and we will be reporting as required here by October 30th to the Department of Environment of the status of our water supply. But our citizens and our customers can be assured that we are meeting the Health Canada guideline, which has been made a law by the province of Nova Scotia Department of Environment. And I won't speak more on that now, but I may in another forum. So that's for information, in case any of you are questioning about these things as a result of people reading about this in the media. And that's all I have on the agenda. I'll take a motion to adjourn this meeting of... Yep. What do we do now?
What's next? I got maybe to you, Mr. Chair, or to the CAO. So I know we do testing like 3 or 4 times a week. We do. So we do the testing, and they said this one about the manganese. Jeff, so if everything is good, when do all these reports, they're compiled, but do they get weekly? Do they go to the Department of Environment, or do they stay in everything that's tested is reported to the Department of Environment? So there's no, when they exceed a limit or everything's reported. 100%, okay, good. And we're well within the limits of the manganese anyways. Good.
So to pick up on that, here's what's odd. I'm going to be kind by saying that it's odd. 40% of Nova Scotians are on wells and private water supplies. Those 40% of people are not subjected to the same rigor as we are operating a municipal supply. And I'm not criticizing the fact that we're required to do this. I'm questioning, though, why the Department of Health has not done more to enforce health-based standards recommended by the Canadian Council of Ministers of Environment, which sets these guidelines on non-regulated supplies. And from a public policy point of view, given all the difficulties we have as towns operating these facilities and all the other obstacles we have in financing our operations compared to municipalities, it would seem to me that if the province would step up, the same guidelines require a person who has a drinking water supply by well is required under the guidelines to have their water tested every 6 months for bacteria and every 3 years for metals. But we know that doesn't happen. We just know it doesn't happen. Concurrently, they're required to pump their septics every 3 years. We know that doesn't happen, very rarely. It happens in the Lake George watershed, though, that we operate because we pump at our cost all of the residents who are within our protective area, by the way. So here's the public policy thing. If the province, not only out of concern for the health and welfare of those 40% of Nova Scotians, were to enforce these regulations that, these guidelines that already exist, there would be fewer people building and buying outside of towns as inside. And that would be good public policy. And frankly, somebody should be talking about it and somebody should be thinking about it.
Let's have that conversation.
So I'll just make that comment now because it's something probably would be difficult to put forward at the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, but it needs to be talked about because we're talking about public policy here, and that's one of the areas where we could rebalance the fiscal realities between municipal taxpayers and town and rural and regional government people in the province. So that's all I have to say on that. Thanks. Thank you, Gus.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I just want to raise for council's awareness, an issue that our chief operator brought to my attention as it relates to these guidelines, these new standards, and testing. So in October, our chief operator submits to Environment every year a sampling plan, and that indicates where samples will be taken and the frequency and so on, and that is approved. And those results are reported 100% to Environment from those samples. The the Canadian Ministers of Environment are considering a guideline around sampling for publicly regulated water utilities that would have a sampling program take from the tap of our customers. So not from our source directly, but take samples of water after it has gone through the plumbing systems of the residents. And so what you get is not necessarily a true indication of the quality of water as it's delivered by the utility to the customer, but you get a true indication of the quality of water that the customer is receiving from their tap. Now that's important for a health reason, but if you think about what that could mean to the utility, we could be getting a false indication or a very inconsistent indication of the quality of water based on the condition of the plumbing, the age of the plumbing in our community. So older communities would have a more...
You're going to get lead, that's the deal.
You're going to get lead, you're going to get elevated copper, and so on. And so that is a bit of concern of the chief operator, that this is a guideline, much like the guideline to pump your septic every 3 years, with the guideline to test your well every 6 months or so, that aren't enforced on Nova Scotians across the board. But the tendency has been, where Environment regulates a public water utility, is they put these guidelines upon us as standards. And so the chief operator just wants you to be aware of that, because it is something that we may be having to wrestle with in this province as that guideline comes closer to us. And so he did say in his response around, do we meet those standards? He says we currently do in our current sampling program. If the sampling program has to change to meet new guidelines, he can't provide any assurance about what might be found in the water that goes through a privately owned plumbing system.
You can tell I'm not running for mayor. I can't run this thing. I can't run this thing. Jim. Sorry, Jim.
Just thinking about what you're saying, Cliff, in a couple of areas, they're setting standards, and I sympathize with most of your comments. What happens if we had to make a change and invest in equipment and time to meet standards? Is it the financial responsibility of the municipality, or do we get help from a source, federal source or provincial source?
When we build our water treatment plant, when we built the sewage treatment plant, we had cross funding from Infrastructure Canada, or various types of programs like that. But why shouldn't we? We pay taxes here to the federal government.
That's right. But the standards, yesterday were here, the standards today are going to be, or they are here. So we pay to maintain the standards.
Well, I'll give you an example of how, it's a patchwork quilt. There was a news item 2 days ago, I think, and the mayor of Wolfville and the minister of Bernadette Jordan and somebody else were up there bragging about putting in an ultraviolet system and whatever and upgrading the Wolfville sewage treatment center. Hell, we did that years ago. In fact, we're dechlorinating now. We are dechlorinating the effluent before it goes out the pipe and into the harbor. We're ahead of them. And Halifax isn't even coming close to that. So it's a patchwork quilt. And so, thanks for the question. I'm going to turn this off now.
I'm next. Yeah. No, Councillor me. Yeah, and you touched on it, Mr. Chair, is how can they expect municipal units, especially towns and regions like Halifax, to do what Jeff just stated about testing at the source in a house when they don't do the other 40% first, right? So when you have, we had a problem here, Jeff, a few years ago with a situation, I won't go into it, that, remember we supplied a system in the house, we thought that the problem was inside the house. So we have more housing stock in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia that's 1850 or 1860 and older than any other place in Atlantic Canada and almost any other place in Canada because of the explosion in Halifax, the fire in St. John, and the fire in St. John's, Newfoundland. If you go into a 150-year-old house and do that, you might have that problem, right? So I think the bigger problem is, and we've encountered it a little bit out in the municipality, is they should enforce those regulations on testing wells, doing the septic system. Like that's where they should be doing some enforcement, right? We were well below every limit all the time. Councillor, I know when you were chair of the water utility in the last 15 or 20 or 25 years, we're just getting going, Greg. We're just getting going. We're waiting. We just started. Yeah. So, but you took advantage of all the programs, all the federal infrastructure programs, all the provincial infrastructure programs, and we do really well at that. So, before they start doing the other one, maybe they should take care of the other 40% first, because the other 60% is doing pretty good right now.
If I could just follow up on that, I can't understand why Canadian Council of Ministers of Environment and the federal government wisely set what's called a guideline. And our province takes that guideline, which allows some common sense and some latitude to fix things up and not arbitrarily set deadlines by which this has a deadline by which we have to become compliant, right? All of a sudden that starts driving us to do things that we can't afford to do, maybe. And they are called guidelines at the federal level. They are not mandatory. And I'll make that comment because I feel strongly about it. This does not permit discretion and common sense to apply.
Yeah, there you go, it's me. Only because this comes on. So in answer to the question that you asked a couple times, I'm just going to say it bluntly, we're easy targets, and I believe that. I believe in the safety of everybody. I believe in clean drinking water. Apparently everybody doesn't have it in Canada, so we're pretty blessed to have what we have, but we're easy targets. We are regulated nearly to death. And you know what, I'm sitting here thinking the same conversation I have about everything is, I don't know what our water budget is. What is it for the water utility to run everything, like all... Right there in that folder, if you want to open it up. It is a lot of money. Is this it? Huh? It's $2 million, right? And you know, somebody said to me the other day, why, actually a couple people, why when we drive outside of town are the roads okay? Because they're not dishing out $2 million to make sure that the water is okay. It's all the little things. It's not just this. It's all the little things that that they can put regulations on, because it's easier to tell us. So the reason I put my light on, because Jeff's probably saying, oh my gosh, where's she going? I'd love to have that conversation. And maybe sit down and say, like, what the question is, why isn't everybody regulated? If it's so important for us to put so much money and effort into ensuring that this is where our water is every time they change a number, then respectfully, I'd love to know what other people are drinking and why is it okay. Maybe I'm way off base, but somebody needs to have that conversation. Can't keep sucking money out of us. Sorry.
We need to spend the money to protect. They're not sucking money out of us in that way. They suck money out of us when they give us arbitrary deadlines. Yeah, that's that is true. But we need to really focus on what needs to be spent by municipal taxpayers, because if municipal taxpayers all of a sudden had to meet these standards, they might find that their cost of a house lot, instead of $20,000, is $40 or $50. Or, I mean, one of those treatment systems for water would be $10,000. I know somebody just put one in Morris Island, and it was $5,000 just for a single-family dwelling. So, and you see, the province doesn't seem to care about that 40%, because they're all rural people, and a lot of them vote for whatever, you know. I mean, they don't want to run the risk of losing votes for enforcing what they should be enforcing. Enough said. And Councillor Berry.
I think my concern would be just another way. They might pay for it for 1 year, and then 2 or 3 years down the road, download it onto the homeowner to pay for the testing. And I think that's another way it's unfair to the public already. We're already taxing them. We're already doing everything possible to make our town run. And then all of a sudden, another added expense. They might support us for 1 year, but you know what happens? The next following year, the next years down the road, it's an automatic extra tax that are coming out of people that are having less and less money. And I think it's a scam.
So can I get this? Hey, the lights are all off. I adjourn the meeting. Bang, we're done. I want to go see the chief. Chief.